This is NDTV. And you're watching NDTV Hindu.
So you'll have to look at this camera. Now today there's been a lot of impact developments hitting the headlines, whether it be the death threat letters to impact performance by the Indian athletes in the Commonwealth Games. Impact is the word, and covering the range and degree of impact, we have our reporters spread out getting us the latest. Now Madras High Court today granted a reprieve to the AIADMK chief in the defamation case. But these defamation cases turning into political tools, is this only a ploy as a part of the name and shame strategy? We have with us Mr. A. Sarvanan, a public prosecutor, who will explain to us the nuances of the law. Now in more impact news, the AIADMK chief Jayalalitha receives yet another death threat, the third since the CBI probe. Peer will tell us more about the ripples this will create. And Nithila will also be joining us, and she'll share with us the lowdown on police action against piracy of Rajni's Endiran. And finally, lots happening in the world of sports. Natasha will bring us the updates from the sports arena. A very good evening to all of you and welcome to News Tonight with me, Ashwin Kumar. Now we've packed for you a half an hour of impact news. We'll bring you all of that in just a while, but first let's take a look at the headlines. Madras High Court tells Amma she need not appear in a court in a defamation case filed by Stalin's son-in-law. This even as the Queen Bee of Tamil Nadu politics receives yet another death threat letter, supposedly from one of Alagiri's supporters. Cloned in the movie but pirated in the markets, police seize pirated DVDs and VCDs of the blockbuster film Endiran. After a couple of dies due to an accidental fire in Aripuram, the police gives a clean sheet to the couple's maids who were earlier suspected. LTTE sympathizers plea dismissed. Sympathizers say hearing on the ban on the LTTE will only complete if they are heard.
Government is wasting public money by constituting such tribunal. This tribunal cannot hear anyone.
Meet the new man heading the city corporation. D. Karthikeyan speaks exclusively to NDTV Hindu and says that the city is absolutely monsoon ready.
For myself and my officers.
A picture is worth 1,000 words and a poster is worth 1,000 blessings. We tell you why Stalin looks like Karnandi's heir apparent. A lot of national stories also hitting the headlines. Let's also just take a quick look at them. Political crisis in Karnataka. 19 MLAs including 4 sacked ministers withdraw support. The BJP asked to prove its majority by the 12th. The Bangalore High Court declares the cab driver guilty in the Pratibha Murthy rape and murder case. Supreme Court reduces Santosh Singh's death sentence to a life term in the Priyadarshini Mattu rape and murder case. Victim's father is disappointed. The gold rush for Indian athletes at the Commonwealth Games continue. Rajendra Kumar takes India's tally to 10. Indian shooting ace better his Melbourne record with stellar performance in Delhi. Narang creates new world record for the 10-meter air rifle. Sachin Tendulkar's centuries garner him the ICC Cricketer of the Year award. Sehwag gets recognition for the best test player. Now, AIADMK General Secretary has received yet another death threat. This is the 10th death threat letter to Jayalalitha received by Jaya TV office from the Dindigul district. The letter writer claims to be a supporter of Union Minister Alagiri. This incidentally is the third letter after the Tamil Nadu government relented and ordered the CBI to probe the matter. With the claims of Alagiri supporters sending the death threat letter, how will this impact the DMK camp? What will be the political repercussions for opposition leader? To help answer these questions, we are now joined by our senior correspondent Peer Mohammed. Now, Peer, if you can hear us, this death threat letter will definitely have ripples throughout the political spectrum. Can you give us an idea to help gauge the impact this will actually have?
Yeah, Ashmit, when the Madurai rally of Jayalalitha is just about 10 days away, this death threat letter is received by the Jaya TV office. Now, looks like the particular death threat letter received from Vattalagundu in Dindigul district. Clearly, there is a mention of Alagiri's name. Now, I being a supporter of the Amudavel, one Amudavel who has written the letter, and he has identified himself as the first ward councillor in DMK ward councillor from that Vatalagundu area in Dindigul district, and said that if Jayalalitha goes to attend this rally in Madurai, she won't return alive. That is the message. That is the message he has been getting. The ADMK backed JRTV office has been getting since last 2 months, and this is again the same message, but written by a different person. But they have filed cases with the Guindy police station, with the DGP, and also with the city police commissioner. They should now look into this particular letter and find out if it is from a real supporter of Alagiri or somebody else. Ashmit?
Right, Peter. Thank you for joining us and again giving us insight on the death threat letters, again a controversial development that we have been tracking. Now moving ahead, Madras High Court today exempted AIADMK General Secretary Jayalalitha from appearing in person before the Chief Metropolitan Magistrate Court in Egmore in defamation case filed by Deputy Chief Minister M.K. Stalin's son-in-law. On Friday, Jayalalitha had filed a quash petition against the summons issued to her. Sabri's son had filed the defamation case against the AIADMK chief for her public speeches in which she allegedly accused him of being an associate of Meenakshi Sundaram, the man arrested in the fake drug scam.
Honorable Amma challenged the summons as well as the proceedings pending in that case before the Honorable High Court Madras. That application came up for hearing before His Lordship R. Mala. The Madras High Court was pleased to admit that petition and also has given the exemption from the appearance of Honorable Amma on 15/10/2010.
Now, one question that this raises to our minds is that is the defamation law, is the provisions of the law being actually used by political parties with the political vendetta, with the political mileage in mind? Now, to discuss that in the context of the legal framework that we have in place, we are joined in the studios by Mr. A. Sarvanan, a public prosecutor from the Madras High Court. So, welcome to the show. It's lovely to have you here again. Yes. So, the question that we are discussing, that is in the focus today, is that defamation, the provisions in the law for defamation provide room for them being misused by political parties by way of perhaps filing cases only for the purpose of naming and shaming. So how much of that is actually true, or is that possible with the framework in place?
Any law for that purpose can be misused. But defamation is the only law which is available where in a society where we place so much of importance to honor and respect. So defamation is the only law which will prevent a man's name to be unnecessarily damaged.
Right. So in the political context, would you say that it acquires more significance because there's a lot more at stake? So it would only be more mean more for the stakeholders on both sides of the party. So you think
like
that
when you take politics, like law will always be it's like they will always try to take advantage of one provision or the other provision of the law. That doesn't mean that defamation, this provision alone it's like is will be liable to be misused or something like that.
Right. But to talk about defamation specifically, now to talk about the language in which it is framed, would you term it as vague, which allows for room in such?
No, it isn't vague. It clearly states that if you in a public place, you intend with an intention to malign or bring down the reputation of somebody, you impute them with somebody which brings down their character or their reputation.
So you're saying essentially that the language is very specific and allows.
It can be as specific as it could be. When you term defamation, because there are a lot, it's like not only just that section alone.
Right.
It has got a lot of explanations and the exceptions.
Right.
So what and all cannot be exception. Truth is not defamation. If you allege a truth against somebody, it is not defamation.
So we'll take that into account, that the language is not very vague and it continues to be very specific. But let's talk about the history.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the legal history about defamation. How many cases have we actually seen where the plaintiff has actually managed to get some damages in return?
Lot of cases actually, where it has been proved before the court with appropriate evidence that in fact he or she has been defamed. The court has awarded damages.
Right.
That's what here again there are two phases to defamation. We can either file a civil claim or we can go for criminal action for defamation. we can pursue both actions.
And from what I understand is that we have generally the norm as we see it in legal circles is that generally both the routes are pursued simultaneously, both criminal and civil.
That's what it depends upon who is going to file, because naturally if you talk about a civil case, you'll have to pay a heavy court fee. See, you're going to claim say $1 lakh of a rupee as this thing, you'll have to pay 7.5%.
Right. So we're getting into technicalities here again, veering away from the topic here. But again, coming back to politics here. Now, you have mentioned that just like any other law, it is vulnerable to being misused.
It is.
What factors about the defamation law makes it so vulnerable, makes it like a good, attractive way of actually getting political mileage, of poking at the sides of a person you do not really...
No, it's like not about what to say. Say if what happens is like when somebody is defamed, they can, that is the only thing available to prevent them. So in the present day politics, it is easy to throw slur on somebody else without any substantial record or any substantial evidence, without any basis. It has become easy and has become fashionable to throw slur on somebody. Right. So defamation is the only law which prevents them from doing it. Right. The law comes to their aid.
Right. Now, to talk about this in the context of this one case that we are following right now about Jayalalitha getting a reprieve from the Madras High Court. Now, to talk about this in terms of the Tamil Nadu politics, we know that when she was in power, she pressed a lot of these defamation charges against journalists. Now, would you say that it's boomeranging back on her with the opposition, with the incumbents actually using it against the opposition party here?
No, that is different. When Mrs. Jayalalitha was filed cases against, it was filed in courts. Hundreds of cases were filed. We can't compare that case with this case. This is a specific individual who has filed this case against Ms. Jayalalitha. So this can't be compared with that. And like the High Court has not stayed the operation, stayed the lower court. Just due to various reasons, taking into account various reasons, has just dispensed with her appearance.
So just to get your final verdict. It is very specific in nature as according to you, but then there is still room for it being employed
any law, because there is oral law, a lot of ifs and buts in law. So there is always scope for a lawyer to move around.
Right, so that's the verdict by Mr. A. Saravanan, telling us about the fact that ifs and buts makes it difficult, and perhaps that's what's being exploited by politicians across the country and here in Tamil Nadu in terms of getting back at their political opponents. Now moving ahead, invincible on the screen but powerless against pirates, the robot has now been pirated. We'll bring you all about that on the other side.